etc. No, it was not. And Major General Gordon Granger, when he delivers General Order Number 3 on June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, there are about 250,000 enslaved Africans all throughout Texas. Okay. All of them did not get the news on the same day. All of them did not get the news that they were free on the same day. It's going to take Major General Gordon Granger almost a year to go all throughout the state of Texas. And when he goes in, he has about 2,000 Union troops, most of them African-American men. They have to physically bring Texas back under the control of the Union because Texas was part of the Confederacy. So it takes almost a year to go through Texas and deliver General Order Number 3 and physically bring Texas back under control of the Confederacy. So June 19th, 1865, even though it did happen, that was the agreed upon date to celebrate Juneteenth and celebrate enslaved Africans in Galveston, Texas, as well as Texas getting the word that they were free. But they did not all get the word on the same day. Okay, they were riding on horseback, not in Escalades. Major General Gordon Granger, they were not riding Escalades. They didn't have social media. Okay, so that's something else that you learn when you dig into this history. All right, now it's important to understand that Maryland did not abolish slavery until November 1st, 1864. November 1st, 1864. So this is almost 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. There's a really good article that I use in the second class that I teach, Black Resistance Movements, 1492 to 1968, from Christopher Columbus to the Haitian Revolution to the Black Power movement. It's called The Not Quite Free State of Maryland. The Not Quite Free State of Maryland. And this piece is from the Washington Post. And it talks about how Maryland dragged its feet when it came to ending slavery. Okay. If we flip over to this here, I just pulled this article up. I want to show this to you. How's everybody doing? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. You can visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register for this online course right now, this 12-week online course. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. So you don't have to be live in class to watch it. You can go back and watch it a year from now, 2 years from now. You'll still have full access to the class. And the content is PG-13, so you can use this with your children. It's not overly graphic. I don't do a lot of cursing, anything like that. The Not Quite Free State. Maryland dragged its feet on emancipation during Civil War. So this is from September 13th, 2013 by Miranda Spivak. And very quickly here, it talks about how the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves in the state that had seceded, went into effect January 1st, 1863. Now, the states that had seceded is talking about the Confederacy, but the Union had no authority to dictate to the Confederacy anything because those 11 states separated from the Union, starting with South Carolina, December 20th, 1860. And they're going to set up their own government. They're going to form the Confederate States of America in early 1861, right around February 1861. They form the Confederate States of America. They set up their own constitution, their own monetary system. So the Union has no authority to dictate to them to do anything. The Emancipation Proclamation was a military strategy stating that if those territories in rebellion against the Union did not come back into the Union by January 1st, 1863, that their slaves would be set free. Okay. And the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation was issued September 22nd, 1862. So as the article says, but Maryland didn't act until 1864. But Maryland did not act until 1864 when it held a referendum. And even then, the outcome wasn't at all certain. Even then, the outcome wasn't at all certain. And let me try to zoom in some for you on this. Okay. So it goes on to say the vote. So they had in Maryland, they put it on the ballot. okay, to determine whether or not they were going to end slavery. The vote tipped in favor of abolition only after the absentee ballots of soldiers fighting for the North were counted. The final tally was 30,174 in favor of freeing the slaves to 29,799 against it. Okay, so it barely passed. Okay, it barely passed. So on November 1st, 1864, Maryland's slaves were declared free only a few months before Congress would approve the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery. And we know the 13th Amendment is going to be adopted December 18th, 1865. Okay. Many blacks in Maryland had taken matters into their own hands by that time, either escaping to the district or enlisting in the Union Army, where they served as free men. Okay. And it's going to be early in December 1865 when the 13th Amendment is going to be ratified, when Georgia ratifies the 13th Amendment. When Georgia passes the 13th Amendment in their state legislature, then you need 3/4 of the state legislatures to ratify an amendment. That's the process of passing a amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Okay, it requires, and let me pull this up here from history.com as well. Here's a piece on this. The 13th Amendment ratified December 6, 1865, when Georgia ratified the 13th Amendment. Okay, hold on. If I can, let me show you this article here. So, to amend the U.S. Constitution, the bill has to pass both the House and the Senate by 2/3 majority vote, and then it has to be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures by 2/3 majority vote, which means the state legislatures have to vote on it as well. So this is from history.com, official website of the History Channel. We use resources and articles from a number of different sources. History.com is just one of them. On December 6, 1865, the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, officially ending the institution of slavery, is ratified. Quote, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Okay. Now, that, as I stated to the Detroit Reparations Task Force on March 2nd, 2024, when I gave my historical presentation to them, and it's on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, and on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, you can go see the presentation, and I did a visual presentation for them. This, the 13th Amendment is based upon a previous law called the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. The Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Which, contrary to popular belief, people think that, this was created to re-enslave African Americans. No, that's false. And if you watch the extensive interview I did with historian Dr. Darrell Scott, who's a history professor, he was at Howard University. Now he's at Morgan State University. I think he's at Morgan State now. We deal with the history of that clause dating back to the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Okay, it's and the Northwest Ordinance is one of the main reasons why Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio don't have a deep history of slavery and didn't have a large number of slaves. Part of it dealt with the climate. Part of it dealt with their economy wasn't largely dependent upon slavery. Just like in Michigan, the economy was not largely dependent upon slavery, but also the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 largely abolished slavery in those areas. Okay, so, but you can watch the presentation that I did and I get deeper into it. Within these words, the single greatest change wrought by the Civil War was officially noted in the Constitution. Now, so they talk about the ratification process and give you some background information on the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. And here they talk about the Northwest Ordinance as well. I think is Senate.gov has a good article on the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Senate.gov is the official website of the U.S. Senate, and they have a history section there also. So when I teach this history, I take you to the history section of the U.S. Senate, take you to the history section of the U.S. House of Representatives, things of this nature. Lincoln believed that a constitutional amendment was necessary to ensure the end of slavery. In 1864, Congress debated several proposals. Some insisted on including provisions to prevent discrimination against blacks by the Senate Judiciary Committee, provided the eventual language. Okay, but the Senate Judiciary Committee provided the eventual language. It borrowed from the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, as I stated, when slavery was banned from the area north of the Ohio River. Okay, the Senate passed the amendment in April 1864. So all this was one of the problems, because in the interview that I did with Dr. Darrell Scott, we dealt with the misinformation in Dr. Ava DuVernay's, not Dr. Ava DuVernay, in Ava DuVernay's documentary 13th. And I saw the documentary when it came out, and I did a presentation here in the Detroit area at Nandy's Knowledge Cafe, dealing with the origins of the war on drugs, going back to 1875 and Chinese men working on the railroads, being the anti-opium laws in San Francisco dating back to 1875. But I talked about the origins of Richard Nixon's war on drugs, because Richard Nixon declared his war on drugs, President Richard Nixon, June 17th, 1971. Okay, and we dealt with, why marijuana was made illegal going back to 1937, and Harry J. Anslinger, who was the first chairman of the Federal Bureau of the National Narcotics Bureau, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, Harry J. Anslinger, 1937. All of that, we dealt with all that history. Okay, so, but the premise of the documentary 13th by Ava DuVernay is that, the 13th Amendment re-enslaved African Americans, things of this nature, because of the loophole. That's false. And if you watch the interview that I did with Dr. Darrell Scott, and we're going to re-air that here on the African History Network, if you watch that interview, we got deep into that history and showed how it was false. And when people repeat that misinformation, they usually don't talk about the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 because they don't understand this history. But that's something that I explained to the Detroit Reparations Task Force dealing with this conversation. Okay, when Georgia ratified the 13th Amendment on December 6, 1865, the institution of slavery effectively ceased to exist in the United States. And then it was adopted December 18th, 1865. But Georgia became, I think it was the 27th state to ratify the 13th Amendment. So you can check this out here at history.com, which is the official website of the History Channel. 13th Amendment ratified December 6, 1865. So you have some people who say, well, it's all right to celebrate June 19th, commemorate June 19th, but we also have to celebrate December 6th, 1865. I agree. I agree with that. And when we have these celebrations around Juneteenth, and I deal with this, I speak at different Juneteenth celebrations. When we have these celebrations around Juneteenth, it's all right to come together and have fun. But we have to deal with history, economics, law, and politics. History, economics, law, and politics. And we have to correct the history of Juneteenth and protect the history of Juneteenth. This is extremely important. We have to correct the history of Juneteenth and protect the history of Juneteenth. Juneteenth gives us an opportunity to force into a national conversation a history that Republicans especially are passing laws in state legislatures to suppress the teaching of that history in schools. Okay, so Juneteenth gives us an opportunity to do that and correct the misinformation in the media and educate people on this history. And the way you treat a people is largely based upon what you think about a people. What you think about a people is largely based upon what you've been taught about a people. What you've been taught about a people is largely based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about a people. So this is why Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who co-founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History in 1915, and who created Negro History Week in 1926, which became Black History Month. This is why he said the history of African Americans had to be taught in every school across the country, not just in schools that we attended, but he understood that everybody had to learn our history. And if you have seen the interview that I did in early 2024 with my friend Professor Manu Ampim, dealing with ancient African civilizations, one of the topics we got into was dealing with the history of Dr. Carter G. Woodson and his research on Africa, but also the creation of the ASALH, Association of the Study of African American Life and History. Okay. All right. Now let's continue. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. And visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you'd like this type of information, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, because you can register for this 12-week online history course that starts up Saturday, November 9th, 2024. Classes on sale, $80. You can use this with your children. You can download our lesson plan. We have an extensive lesson plan here for each class session. We cover thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. All right, let's continue. And you can register for this 12-week online history course that I teach. Class number 1 starts up Saturday, November 9th, 2024. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay. We deal with thousands of years of history, what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We deal with some of the attack on the teaching of history in schools, especially African American history. You can download the full lesson plan here. Click on download. Register right here for it as well. You can use this information with your children. I would say the content is PG-13. It's not overly graphic. We don't do a lot of cursing or anything like that. The 200 slides that we reference, 80 to 100 articles, 15 books that we reference. I show you the excerpts of the books on screen, so you don't have to buy any of them if you don't want to. You can get them for your personal library, but you don't have to buy the books to follow along in class. I'll show you video clips of interviews I've done with some of our scholars as well. Like Professor James Small, Professor Kabahai Watakamane, Anthony Browder, who wrote Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, which is one of the books that we use in the class, and Runoko Rashidi, as well as others. And my copy of Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization is around here. I think it's on the bookshelf. Put on the bookshelf. Right here. Yeah, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization by Tony Browder. This is a fantastic, fantastic book. Definitely want to get this for